The streets of Shamshui-Po buzzed with the usual hum of city life, vendors calling out their wares, pedestrians hurrying along the narrow sidewalks, and the ever-present din of traffic filling the air. It was an ordinary December afternoon in Hong Kong's working-class district. But then something extraordinary happened. A gust of wind carried something unusual through the air. The first fluttering banknotes drifted down like leaves in autumn, green, crisp, and unmistakable. At first, people blinked in disbelief. A single bill landed near a street vendor's cart, and a child bent down to pick it up, staring wide-eyed at the $100 note in his hand. And then it began in earnest. Hundreds of bills cascaded from the sky, spiraling down from above, scattering in the air like a financial miracle. A man standing in a noodle shop doorway gawked in stunned silence. A group of teenagers let out shrieks of excitement, running into the street with arms outstretched. The orderly flow of pedestrians instantly collapsed into a chaotic scramble. People lunged, leaped, and clawed at the airborne money, stuffing bills into their pockets and bags. Above them, standing on the rooftop of a building, was a lone figure. He stood with the swagger of a performer on stage, soaking in the hysteria below. Wong Ching-kit, clad in a sleek black outfit, held his phone high as he broadcast the spectacle live to thousands online. His voice, brimming with excitement, rang out over the streets. "Ladies and gentlemen, the money is falling. This is the gift you all deserve." The crowd roared in response. Some cheered, others chanted his name. The growing mob surged through the street, chasing after bills that fluttered toward the pavement like golden opportunities. Traffic ground to a halt as drivers abandoned their vehicles to join in. The spectacle was beyond anything the district had ever seen. Perched above the scene, Wong grinned like a king bestowing gifts upon his subjects. He raised his arms dramatically and shouted into the camera, "I am your modern-day Robin Hood." But as the frenzy below reached its peak, the first warning sirens pierced through the air. The police were coming. And Wong Ching-kit, he was just getting started. The sirens sliced through the chaos like a knife. The crowd, still scrambling for banknotes, hesitated for a moment, just long enough to acknowledge the unmistakable presence of authority. Police officers in Navy uniforms pushed through the sea of people, their stern voices booming over the noise. "Step back! Clear the street!" Some scattered immediately, stuffing bills into their pockets as they disappeared into alleyways. Others lingered, unwilling to let go of the fortune that had rained from the sky. Wong Ching-kit, still on the rooftop, turned his camera toward the flashing blue lights below. He was smiling. "Ah, here comes the fun police," he chuckled into his live stream. "Tell me, officers, what's the crime in a little generosity?" The officers weren't amused. Within moments, the street was in lockdown. Some officers attempted to restore order, ushering civilians away, while others looked up at Wong, assessing their next move. A commanding voice barked through a megaphone, "Wong Ching-kit, come down immediately." For a split second, he hesitated. He had expected excitement, maybe even controversy, but the full weight of the law closing in on him this fast? That was unexpected. Still, he had played this game before, dancing on the edge of legality, teasing the authorities just enough to stay one step ahead. He leaned into the camera, smirking. "Looks like our time is up, folks. But don't worry, the revolution has just begun." Then, with a theatrical bow, he turned and disappeared from view. By the time Wong reached the bottom floor, uniformed officers were already pouring into the building. He moved quickly, slipping through a side exit into the crowded streets. His heart pounded, not out of fear, but from adrenaline. This was exactly the kind of drama that fueled his legend. But this time, he had underestimated the response. As he made his way through the winding streets of Shamshui-Po, he could hear voices behind him, shouts, footsteps. They were searching for him, and no matter how confident he felt, there was no escaping the reality that Hong Kong was one of the most heavily surveilled cities in the world. Minutes later, as he turned a corner near an electronics market, a firm hand grabbed his arm. "Wong Ching-kit, you're under arrest." A dozen officers swarmed him. There was no escaping now. As the handcuffs clicked shut around his wrists, Wong looked around at the cameras flashing, capturing every second of his downfall. He let out a laugh, short, sharp, defiant. "Enjoy the show, Hong Kong," he said. "I'll be back." The police station was colder than Wong Ching-kit expected, both in temperature and in atmosphere. The fluorescent lights cast a harsh glare over the tiled floor, and the air carried the unmistakable scent of bureaucracy. He sat in the interrogation room, his hands cuffed to the metal table, yet his posture remained relaxed. If anything, he looked amused. Across from him, two officers studied him carefully. One of them, a seasoned inspector with a furrowed brow, sighed as he flipped through a folder. "Do you even understand what you've done?" the officer asked, setting the papers down. Wong smirked. "I made a few people happy." The officer's expression remained flat. "You caused a public disturbance. You turned a street into a riot. People could have been hurt." "Could have," Wong corrected, "but weren't." The second officer leaned forward. "Where did the money come from?" Wong tilted his head, feigning innocence. "I'm a businessman. I have my ways." His evasiveness only deepened their suspicion. The truth was, Wong Ching-kit had no real business empire, only a carefully crafted image as a cryptocurrency guru. He had built his brand on bold claims, flashy stunts, and a mix of truth and illusion. The money he had thrown into the streets? That was the question no one could answer yet. The officers exchanged glances. One of them spoke again, this time slower. "There are people saying you scammed them, that you convinced them to invest in mining machines that never worked." Wong rolled his eyes. "People love to blame others for their bad decisions." The inspector exhaled, leaning back in his chair. "You think this is a game, don't you?" Wong's smirk never faded. "Isn't everything?" Outside the station, the story was spreading like wildfire. News outlets dissected every angle of the stunt. Social media exploded with debates. Was Wong a hero, a scammer, or just a reckless attention seeker? Some saw him as a modern-day Robin Hood, a rebel defying the system. Others dismissed him as a fraud, a showman distracting from his shady dealings. But regardless of opinion, one thing was undeniable. Wong Ching-kit had the entire city's attention. In the days following his arrest, videos of the cash rainstorm racked up millions of views. Hashtags like Coin Young Master and Crypto Robin Hood trended across platforms. Wong had become a sensation. But as his name lit up the internet, another reality was settling in. The police weren't just interested in his latest stunt. They were digging deeper into his past, his business dealings, and the growing list of accusations tied to his name. And this time, there was no rooftop to escape to. Wong Ching-kit stepped out of the police station 2 days later, his face calm but his mind racing. He had been released on bail, but the message was clear. His troubles weren't over. The authorities were watching him, digging into his past, and waiting for him to slip. But Wong wasn't planning to lay low. If anything, the controversy had only made him more powerful. Outside, reporters swarmed him, their microphones thrust forward like weapons. "Mr. Wong, do you regret your actions? Was this just a publicity stunt? Are you running a crypto scam?" Wong adjusted his sunglasses and grinned. "I regret nothing. If giving money to the people is a crime, then what kind of world are we living in?" It was the perfect soundbite, the kind that would spread like wildfire. And just as he predicted, it did. Back in his luxurious apartment, Wong settled into his custom gaming chair, staring at the rows of messages flooding his inbox. Investors, followers, skeptics, all of them buzzing about his arrest. Some were nervous, wondering if their money was safe. Others were eager to join whatever new scheme he was planning. He opened a live stream. Thousands tuned in instantly. "Let's talk about Bitcoin," he said, flashing his signature smirk. "And let's talk about freedom." For the next hour, he weaved a story about governments suppressing financial independence, about banks controlling wealth, about how cryptocurrency was the future, and of course about how his followers could be part of it. People listened. People believed. What they didn't know was that behind the charismatic persona, behind the flashy lifestyle, Wong's empire was built on shaky ground. The crypto mining machines he sold, overpriced and barely functional. The investments he promoted, risky, unstable, and often misleading. The promises he made, too good to be true, but as long as the illusion held, none of that mattered. Then, the first real crack appeared. A group of investors had gone to the police, claiming they had been misled. They said Wong had promised guaranteed returns, only for their money to disappear into thin air. The authorities had been waiting for this. Search warrants were issued. Bank accounts were frozen. The media, which had once celebrated Wong as a crypto rebel, now turned against him, branding him a con artist. For the first time, Wong felt the walls closing in. But if there was one thing he knew, it was how to stay ahead of the game. And this time, he had only one move left. Run. Wong Ching-kit had always thrived on chaos. He had built his name on controversy, survived public scrutiny, and danced on the edge of the law. But now, the game was different. This wasn't just about publicity stunts or internet fame. This was survival. The authorities were closing in fast. Reports flooded the news. Crypto fraud investigation, frozen assets, lawsuits piling up. His name was no longer just trending, it was being blacklisted. Wong knew what was coming next. Arrest, court, prison. That wasn't an option. So, before dawn, he vanished. Hong Kong was a city of eyes, cameras on every street, police at every checkpoint. But Wong had spent years studying the system, learning its weaknesses. He knew exactly how to slip through. He ditched his luxury apartment, his sports cars, his designer suits. In their place, cheap sneakers, a baseball cap, and a fake passport. His first move, Macau. A short ferry ride, no visa required. From there, a private flight to an undisclosed location. Somewhere with no extradition treaty. Somewhere he could rebuild. By the time the police arrived at his last known address, he was already gone. The authorities weren't about to let him slip away. Within days, an international warrant was issued, his face plastered across news outlets. The coin young master was now a wanted fugitive. Interpol got involved. Countries with close ties to Hong Kong tightened their borders. Financial watchdogs tracked suspicious transactions. But Wong was a ghost. Rumors spread. He was hiding in Thailand. He was seen in Dubai. He was using cryptocurrency to stay off the grid. Every few weeks, a blurry photo would surface. A man in a hoodie at an airport. A shadowy figure at a luxury resort. Was it him? No one could confirm. While Wong remained in hiding, his empire collapsed. The cryptocurrency schemes he had pushed unraveled. Victims came forward, revealing how they had been lured in by promises of wealth. Lawsuits stacked up. Investigations expanded. The name Wong Ching-kit became synonymous with fraud. His followers, once devoted, turned against him. Some had lost their savings. Others had trusted him with everything. Now, they wanted revenge. But Wong wasn't done yet. Even in exile, he had one last move left to play. Wong Ching-kit had always believed he was smarter than the system. He had evaded the police, outplayed the media, and convinced thousands to follow his financial dreams. But now, in exile, with the world hunting him, he faced his greatest challenge yet, disappearing for good. For months he had stayed ahead. He hopped between countries, always one step ahead of law enforcement, using cryptocurrency to fund his escape. He lived in luxury, but in secrecy. No more live streams, no more grandstanding, just survival. But then he made a mistake. Desperation has a way of making people reckless. Wong had lost access to many of his funds, thanks to international banking restrictions and asset freezes. His once loyal partners had either been arrested or abandoned him. He needed money, fast. That's when he reached out to an old contact in the crypto world, someone he thought he could trust. What he didn't know was that the authorities were watching. The moment Wong attempted to move a large sum of cryptocurrency into a new account, an alert went off. It was flagged by financial crime investigators who had been waiting for him to slip up, and just like that, the hunt was over. The arrest happened quietly. No rooftop stunts, no flashing cameras. Just a team of law enforcement officers storming a rented villa in a Southeast Asian country. They found Wong sitting in front of his laptop, his fingers frozen over the keyboard. "You've had a good run," one officer told him. Wong only smirked. "It's not over." But it was. He was extradited back to Hong Kong under heavy security. The media frenzy erupted once again. Crypto King captured, from millionaire to fugitive, the rise and fall of Wong Ching Kit. At his trial, prosecutors laid out the full scale of his fraud. Investors had lost millions. Victims testified. The man who once threw money from rooftops was now watching his own fortune disappear. In the end, the sentence was severe. Prison. No more escapes, no more live streams, no more illusions. Even behind bars, Wong Ching Kit's name still lingered in the crypto world. Some called him a genius who pushed the boundaries of finance. Others saw him as a cautionary tale, the ultimate warning against unregulated digital money.